Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Ed Marshall with the Madison Police Department, and I'd like to welcome everyone here joining us in person today and those following our live stream on social media. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to the Mayor's Office, represented here today by the Chief of Staff, Mary Botari. The MPD works incredibly hard to build and maintain the trust of the community we serve, and we don't take that trust for granted. We must earn it. And earning that trust requires accountability and transparency. The community has a right to know what we are doing to keep them safe and the efforts we are making to maintain their quality of life. Today, Chief Barnes will discuss the city's state of public safety. He will outline some of the accomplishments and success we have achieved with the help of the community and partnerships that were developed over the last 2 years. He will also discuss some of the challenges we are working to overcome in order to continue improving public safety as we start this new year in 2023. Chief Barnes will take questions at the conclusion of the address. I ask that you hold your questions until he concludes his remarks. Without further delay, I would like to welcome Chief Sean Barnes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Before I begin, I wanted to begin by just offering the condolences of the entire Madison community and the Madison Police Department to Officer Peter Jerving of the Milwaukee Police Department, who lost his life earlier this year in the pursuit of protecting and serving our community. Protecting and serving our community is our responsibility. It's our mandate, and we don't take it lightly. We have a dedicated group of men and women here at the Madison Police Department that I am extremely proud to be a part of. I want to begin by acknowledging my senior command staff who is here with us today. Assistant Chief John Patterson, Assistant Chief Paige Valenta, and newly promoted Assistant Chief Matt Ty. Also, I want to acknowledge Assistant Chief Brian Austin, who has retired. He was with me last year and served with distinction. I want to acknowledge my Executive Officer, Lieutenant Ed Marshall, as well as our Public Information Officer, Stephanie Fryer. She's not here with us today, but my Executive Assistant is Alyssa Keynes. She could probably organize D-Day again, and it would be as successful or probably more successful as it was. I wish I had her during my time in the Marine Corps. I would have gotten places on time. She is absolutely amazing. She's not here with us today, but I wanted to say thank you to her. I want to say thank you to our non-commissioned staff. These are people who work extremely hard to ensure that the police department is supported. And they don't often get an opportunity to hear it, but I wanted to just say thank you to all of our non-commissioned officers. Specifically, I wanted to mention Teague Maurer, who is our finance manager. She's absolutely awesome. And Mr. Jim Powell, who's our grants manager. He could not be with us today, but Jim, if you are watching this, just know that my thoughts and our thoughts and prayers are with you and with your family. I want to say thank you to our Corps officers who work very hard to ensure that we are engaging with our community, as well as our task force officers. They're all doing their work, and they don't often get recognized, but they're doing good work to keep illegal drugs off of our streets, and I wanted to acknowledge them as well. I want to acknowledge all of our community partners. I sent an email out through our community engagement specialists last night, thanking them as well. I want to thank Dr. Jenkins, the current superintendent, who's a good friend of mine, for all of his support and his leadership as well. 2 short years ago, I stood at this very podium and I outlined a public safety plan intended to fulfill our department's mission of providing the highest quality of police services to the Madison community. It was called an ambitious plan by our friends in the media. However, for me, it was a plan that focused on the 3 core principles of 21st century policing: crime prevention, community engagement, and employee safety and wellness. Over the course of the past 2 years, my staff and I have developed practices and processes to address those priorities. I learned quickly during my time as a public high school teacher and basketball coach many, many years ago that practices and processes are important, but not nearly as important as productivity. To make the grade or win the game, you have to produce. Today, I'm going to share some of that productivity. We have accomplished a lot in the last 2 years, but we did not do it alone. The mayor and members of our Common Council prioritize public safety through investments in our police department. And most importantly, the community has come together in support of these 3 core priorities. All of this underscores the principle that maintaining public safety is a collective effort. Crime prevention, it is fair to say that we have been laser focused on crime prevention. We're starting to see some very, very encouraging trends in that area, particularly in the area of violent crime. At a time when violent crime is on the mind of many Americans and often the issue of violent crime leads the conversation at the dinner table, I am proud to say that we are trending in the right direction. The number of victims impacted by gunfire has been steadily declining over the past 2 years. We saw a 14% drop in aggravated assaults involving a gun in 2022 from the previous year. 6 people were murdered in our community in 2022 compared to 10 victims the prior year. We've been working hard to bring a resolution to those cases. 4 of those cases are cleared by arrests. One of those cases involved a murder-suicide, and we're closing in on case number 6. This is a 40% decrease in homicides. With that being said, 1 loss of life is 1 too many, and the only acceptable number of homicides in our community or any other community in America is 0. This is not just a reduction in homicides, though. Fewer members of our community were victimized by gun violence in 2022 compared to the prior year. In fact, we saw a 39% drop in shots fired calls overall. More than 360 illegal guns were safely taken off of our street in 2022. That's 100 more guns recovered than in 2021. I believe that the sound of gunfire directly contributes to our fear of crime. And every chief in every city in America will tell you that fear of crime is far more important than any actual number or statistics. Robberies dropped 14% in 2022, and we experienced a nearly 40% drop in forcible rape cases. Home break-ins decreased by 33% in 2022. That represents 183 people, family, and homeowners that did have to experience the pain and heartbreak of a home break-in. We did, however, see a spike in non-residential burglaries of 43%, and this is an area that we are concerned with, and we're working to address this problem. Now, when I came here in 2021, one of the things that I heard was about young people stealing cars. And not only did the department, but the community as well wanted us to be strategically focused on this particular issue. I myself spent some time through an invitation with the Madison School Board, went to JRC, and I spoke with young people who were in there for stealing cars. I spoke to one young man who admitted to me stealing over 100 cars. It was at that point that I didn't need any other data to prove that we wanted to make stolen cars one of our strategic priorities for our summer strategic plan. For the 90-day summer strategic plan last year, as previously reported, we experienced a 5% decrease. However, we had an overall decrease of 12% in stolen cars in 2022, and that is certainly trending in the right direction. Additionally, car break-ins decreased by 33% compared to the prior year. This is often referred to as a diffusion of benefits. Naturally, as encouraging as these numbers are, we still have much work to do. It is critical to understand that regardless of what the numbers reveal, they transcend percentages. The numbers are real people, and real people have every expectation to live, learn, work, and play in a safe community. Our sworn personnel and professional staff have fully committed themselves to community safety. I want to say that I have asked a lot of them over the last 2 years, and they have exceeded my expectation. In 2022, our officers responded to more than 134,000 calls for service. Officers made nearly 5,000 custodial arrests, up 14% from the prior year. Of those arrests, 1,886 were for crimes committed against another person. Our officers are working tirelessly to keep our community safe. The work they're doing are not only changing lives, but quite often saving lives. Officers like our very own Officer Hunter Tank and the Central District Community Policing Team, who was responsible for the recovery of over 30 firearms and numerous related arrests in our downtown area, we think resulting in decreased gun violence in downtown. Officers like Officer Kaylin Radloff, through proactive police work, conducted traffic stops that yielded a high level of illegal guns and drugs in the South Police District. Her experience, her professionalism, working the busy night shifts in the South District was important to keeping our city safe in 2022. Our K-9 unit, sponsored by Capital K-9s, recovered 43 firearms, and our newly created Gun Neighborhood Crime Abatement Team recovered 28 illegal firearms. And this is just a small relative sample of some of our efforts to reduce crime. We should be grateful. We should be grateful for officers who continuously, selflessly commit themselves to public safety here in Madison. They do not do it for the money or the prestige. They do it because of an unwavering dedication to what we have coined selfless public service, which appears in our vision statement. Community support and involvement will always play an enormous role in crime reduction. It is the basis of everything that we do. In 2022, the Crime Stoppers tip line received more than 700 calls from community members providing information on unsolved cases. Those cases yield 11 arrests and the recovery of your personal property. I commend our community for stepping up and speaking up. They understand and recognize that we cannot do this alone. We all have to take ownership when it involves keeping Madison safe. As I always say and always will, crime prevention is everyone's responsibility. That also includes requiring and investing in the tools, training, and time necessary to keep Madison safe. For example, through the mayor's executive budget, we were able to fund 8 officers for the town of Madison who are working. And through our shared commitment to community policing and data-driven strategic initiatives, we hired our first Director of Police Reform, Data, and Innovation, Dr. Lee Hunt, who's here with us today. And we hired a community engagement specialist, Mr. Alex Ricketts, who's here with us today as well. The Madison Common Council voted to approve a body-worn camera pilot in our North District. This is an $83,000 investment in data and science to help inform police practice here in Madison. Through the governor's LEA grant, we were able to invest in a patrol analysis tool to help automate the planning of directed patrols based on crime data in the community. This technology allows our supervisors the necessary analysis to ensure we're assigning the appropriate, often limited, resources and staffing in the appropriate places in order to maximize crime prevention. In addition, the Biden administration, Office of Community-Oriented Policing, partially funded 6 officers to support our community policing efforts. In addition to efforts made in the police department and investments made in the police department have made investments in our community. From 2017 through 2022, the Madison Police Department facilitated more than $1.5 million in grant funding to 22 nonprofit service providers for community services in support of Madison-centric community policing efforts. Several of the areas funded through those grants include breaking the cycle of youth violence programs, community-based crime reduction initiatives, and an initiative to improve equity and fairness in youth arrests and diversion. Additionally, the department also partnered with public agencies in the same community building efforts to leverage institutional capacities to reduce crime, increase perceptions of safety, and build and share a more equitable community. This resulted in over $600,000 in pass-through grant funding. That funding covered several programs and initiatives to include, in part, a school violence reduction program, the Community Policing Advisory Board pilot that you will be hearing more about, and our Addiction Recovery Initiative, MARI, which I will talk about a little later on. We will continue to identify opportunities to invest in the public safety of our community. Our community deserves nothing less. Earning and maintaining the trust of the community has and will continue to be a priority for the Madison Police Department. Now, it is no big secret that the subject of policing in Madison has been a polarizing topic for some. Spirited debate and respectful discourse should never be avoided. They are, at times, the very foundation of constructive reform. I cannot stand here and say that we are a perfect organization. There is no police department in America that's perfect, and certainly organizational exceptionalism does not live here in the Madison Police Department. The community provides the Madison Police Department with the authority to police, and they should have a right to express how they want to be served, and we, as police officers, have an obligation to listen. Our community demands community engagement through effective partnerships. Here are a few examples of where we deliver. Since 2021, all commissioned personnel who would have issued a youth 12 to 16 in years of age a municipal citation for any reason now divert that youth in the field to what we call restorative justice via the YWCA's Youth Intake Coordinator. In the fourth quarter of 2022 alone, the Madison Police Department issued 48 youth restorative justice referrals. 33 of those youth opted into this diversionary program. Each year, our community outreach officers partner with the Black Officer Coalition to host a leadership camp, and core partners with Amigos and Azul to host a Latino youth academy. The goal is to put forth representative officers to the youth who are engaging for the purposes of building trust through transparency in a week-long free summer camp. The leadership camp welcomes youth who are in big brothers and big sisters and often face significant challenges in their personal journeys. Latino Youth Academy participants are selected from nominations in our area middle schools. The Madison Area Addiction Recovery Initiative, or MARI program, is for individuals who have committed an eligible nonviolent offense, and that offense was driven by the disease of addiction. The program seeks to divert individuals with substance use disorder out of the criminal justice system and toward recovery. The Mari Diversion Program offers 6 months of treatment, coaching for individuals who would like treatment. Their criminal charge or ticket is dismissed and no court record is ever made if they successfully complete the program. We currently have 16 individuals in the Mari program. Employee safety and wellness is part of a rewarding profession. This profession in policing, I will tell you, after almost 25 years, is not easy. And in some cases, it's getting more and more difficult. There is impacts, I believe, on the physical and the emotional well-being of our employees. Caring for our community is a priority, but we also need to care for those who are serving the community. We have worked to develop work-life balance programs for all of our employees. We want to promote activities that maintain a positive staff and family atmosphere here at MPD and develop programs to support any employee who may be in need. Some of those programs include a continuation and expansion of our Wellness Days initiative. Now, in addition to the assigned Wellness Day and check-in day, officers have a second Wellness Day to schedule at their discretion. We are developing a virtual response unit, and I'm very excited about this program. We're developing a virtual response unit, which will offer an optional virtual response for crimes and incidents. I think over the last 2 years, we have proven that you can do a lot over Zoom. I even heard a story about you can get married over Zoom. So if you can get married over Zoom, we can certainly take your report over Zoom. We're excited about this. This will not only offer more flexibility and convenience for callers, but will also provide a limited duty option for officers in lieu of expending their personal leave for family illness, personal illness, or other needs. We are developing a 5-year strategic plan with employee input and public input. The strategic plan will focus on youth engagement, internal and external communications, and workplace culture. Through our strategic plan, we want to make Madison, the Madison Police Department, the best police department to work for. I am certain that we will be able to do this. We are committed to identifying additional opportunities to improve the overall wellness of all members of our department. It is unreasonable to expect our officers and employees to effectively care for the community if no one is willing to take care of them. I am extremely proud of my police department. I am extremely proud of the accomplishments that were made in 2022. We are eager to confront any challenge that is ahead of us as we embark on this year in 2023. We have a new year with a new and renewed commitment to growth, opportunity, and success. All of us have made tremendous strides in reducing crime, improving our quality of life, and making Madison one of the safest cities in America. Now, we still have some work ahead of us, but I know that my staff, my officers, my non-commissioned employees, we're ready. We will roll up our sleeves, we will dig in, and we will get the job done. It is, after all, the Madison way. Thank you. Okay.
Are you putting forth the assertion that crime generally is down?
In those specific areas, crime is down, and overall, crime is down in Madison, yes.
Over what period, though? I went back and looked at some of the annual reports and the most recent IBR report, and what I see there is just, it's kind of flat.
I would have to know what you were looking at specifically in order to answer that, Chris, but I will tell you this, Dr. Hunt is here. He has his information. If you want to set up a one-on-one and take a look at those, we can certainly do that. As you know, NIBRS has 2 categories, so it depends on what you're looking at, but in the categories that we've been focused on, crime is down.
Chief, has the gun violence reduction strategy that you were talking about last year been helping with reducing some of that gun violence?
We believe so. Part of that included the summer strategic plan, where officers were focused on particular areas using thresholds. And those thresholds were established by repeat calls for service, community input, and where we were taking reports. And so the idea was if there was some type of what we call it a microtime hotspot or some type of crime pattern developing, we had quick and early responses to those particular areas in order to reduce those crimes. Additionally, the officers being proactive, engaging our community, getting tips from Crime Stoppers, and of course our gang neighborhood crime abatement team who are working to get some of the persons who we know are under warrants for violent crime off the streets all work. Remember, we're just one part of the spear of crime prevention. We're the tip, but we're just one part of it. And we need everyone. And I think a big part of the success has really been the collaboration with everyone. As you are aware, we had a homicide here. Our first homicide last year occurred downtown, across from my office. And within a year, the person responsible for that has already been tried, adjudicated, and sentenced. That expediency certainly helps. That's not an area where we can control or take credit for. But again, that's just an example of how working together, we can get violent crime reduced. Again, this is, I don't want you to think that this is a victory lap. I'm stating the facts. We're doing well. Crime is going down, which is where it's supposed to be. But I think there's still room to grow. There's always room to grow. And no amount of homicides will ever be acceptable to me or anyone on my staff.
The independent monitor has just started working, I believe, starting in December. I'm wondering if you could outline what kinds of conversations you've had with that office and that individual.
Well, we had one meeting. It was a very nice, cordial greeting. Certainly, he is establishing a new office. He has to hire staff and create processes. So the best way for me to support him is to get out of his way, let him create what he has to create, and then we'll circle back on that. But we certainly are not standing in his way for anything that he's doing, but we haven't established a working relationship as of yet.
A couple efforts at the council level to eliminate the Public Safety Review Commission and to eliminate the city's curfew ordinance. Do you support those?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Public Safety Review Committee. That's really out of my wheelhouse. We have a Public Safety Review Committee. We have a Civilian Oversight Board. What I do support is some clear lines on paper as to who does what. I think that is probably some of the frustration that the community members wants to know. Because think of it this way, Chris. If I have a problem and I don't want to go to the police department and I look on the website and I see we have a Public Safety Review Committee, we have a Civilian Oversight Board, we have an independent monitor, I could get frustrated and say, well, you know what, I'm not sure, and then I don't talk to anyone. And that doesn't serve us, especially if someone has a concern. So what I am in support of is just some, unity of command and understanding who's responsible for what. In regards to the curfew, I really don't have an opinion on that. I can tell you that last year we arrested one person for curfew violations. The year before that, we arrested 2. And then the year before that, in 2020, we arrested 10. And I'm assuming that the 2020 may have been related to civil unrest.
I just want to follow up on your answer to the last question. You had mentioned that having multiple individuals involved in policing or oversight other than the MPD is difficult. If you're a citizen, you don't really know who to go to. You mentioned that you'd like to see unity of command, but what is your plan to help support or initiate that unity so the community knows who to go to?
Well, I believe the community knows that if you have a complaint or a compliment, how to do that. One of the things that I changed last year was I moved where that was on our website. So it used to be you would have to click into our website under my name to find it. It's actually on the front page now. So I can only control what I can control. I feel that we, all citizens or community members, excuse me, who want to complain or want to give a compliment, we have so many ways they can do that. You can flag an officer down, they're obligated to pass that on. Or you can go to our website, you can call in. Our professional standards and internal affairs organization will be willing to do that. Just as a frame of reference, prior to coming to Madison, briefly, I worked for the Civilian Office of Police Accountability in Chicago. And so there's Civilian Office of Police Accountability. They also have an Internal Affairs Bureau, and then they also have a Professional Standards Bureau. But one of the things about it is when a complaint comes in, it comes to one place, and there's people who their responsibility is to determine where that should be. It's so easy. It doesn't require any confusion. And if I am to, if you're asking me how I would do that, I would make one central location where if people wanted to give a compliment or a complaint, it would go there, and then that person would be trained to determine who's best to hear this complaint. Because if I feel that I don't want to talk to the police department, right, then obviously that should trigger someone else. At this particular time, where would that be? Would it be the PSRC? Would it be the Civilian Oversight Board? Would it be the Independent Monitor? Would it be the mayor's office? Would it be my office? But if you want to give a compliment, and we'll keep it positive, you can certainly do that on our website, and we welcome that.
You mentioned before the efforts to divert youth to restorative justice. Do you know how many of those youth you've referred have completed the program and?
No, I only recorded the numbers for the last quarter, but I do know it is a successful program. We've been working with that for a couple of years now, and I think the officers are very proud of it. If you want more data, and that's for anyone, please submit those to Stephanie, and we'll get those data requests for you.
And I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but
Uh-oh, Chris, now, if you started with that.
it's actually a question for Mary. So there will be another vote before council about going ahead with the body cam program. The last vote was 11-9. Don't know what the council will look like, when it reconvenes. The mayor could end up being kind of a deciding voice in this, and I've not heard that the mayor has a position one way or the other on this. Can you say, Mary, whether she's for the pilot program?
I'll answer that because I think if you want to talk to Mary, let's do it offline because we're almost done. But I anticipate 20 yeses and 0 nos. All right. Thank you so much for coming today, and I'll hang around for a little bit. And I know you all are busy. It's lunchtime, and thank you for coming. And the last thing that I want to say, most importantly, is thank you to the men and women of the Madison Police Department, commission, non-commission, anyone that calls our department home. Thank you for everything you have done and will continue to do. And we look forward to coming back again next year with even more promising trends. Thank you.